In this video, I'm going to reveal the truth about AI and data engineering jobs, and specifically what it means for your career, your jobs, your salary, and your future in the data and tech industry. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Chris Garzone. I'm the founder and CEO of Data Engineer Academy, because after going from making 50 grand a year to making 450 grand a year from my time at Lyft and Amazon, I recognized that there was a gap in the market where tech professionals can increase their pay by learning a few data skills and going to a different company. And so we do this at Data Engineer Academy every single day. We work with thousands of other tech professionals to increase their pay. And what we are seeing in the market is very different than what you're hearing in social media, because social media will make AI seem like the scariest thing in the world. But what we're seeing is that this is a big opportunity for salaries for people that are going into tech roles. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly the specific new roles that AI has created, how to put yourself in a situation, make 300, 400, 500 grand per year in total compensation, and the exact moves that you need to do to make sure that you're on the right side of this change and this technological shift. Ultimately, right now, and we call this internally the AI multiplier effect, the reason that we are so confident in what is going on with AI in the industry is because we've just seen the same pattern in the past. Every single time a new technology has come out, there are steps that happen within the automation wave, and they've become very predictable, and we're seeing the same thing play out with AI today. And so we are going to give you projects that you can use AI and data engineering skills in these projects. You can put them at play immediately, and then you can benefit them with your career jump, whatever company you go to next. So let's get into it. So point number one, companies are hiring more data engineers right now because of AI, not fewer. Every AI feature that a company ships creates more data, which creates more AI, and ultimately this requires humans in order to build, maintain, monitor the data, the infrastructure, and so it's actually creating more of a need for data engineers. The reason for this is because the companies are expanding their scope. And so what it means is, in the past, if a company had to create a data lake, a data warehouse, and data pipelines, it might require a handful of data engineers. Now that same company has expanded their data team because they have more workflows. So for example, there's more real-time streaming, which creates more data, which creates more infrastructure. There's more feature storage. There's more models that are training the pipelines. There's more databases, because now instead of just good old Redshift and Postgres, we have vector databases as well, right? So some people need to build and maintain that as well. So that same team that had 5 data engineers actually has 10 or 15 now in 2026. And what's crazy about this is that the same exact thing happened with cloud, right? So in the past, maybe 5 to 10 infrastructure engineers could do the work of a cloud engineer, right? But now, or at some point, that had to become 50 cloud engineers. Why? Because when you automate more work, that actually creates more time to work on bigger ideas, which creates bigger scope, which creates more impact and more work for the company, right? And so 50 engineers versus 10 engineers, you might think, well, how can we 5x the number of engineers even though we've automated more things? And the reason is because as you automate more things and as you go deeper into the business, you realize that there's so much other stuff to work on that you just use automation as a tool to be more efficient. But when you tackle bigger and bigger projects, right? Because if a company wants to go from $10 million to $1 billion, that company is now working on much bigger projects, much bigger pieces of work. And so those bigger projects require more people, which thankfully automation in the first place caused the company to grow. So when you see a company launch a new AI feature, you should be thinking, wow, that just created like 6 months of data engineering work, right? And new AI features means more work. It doesn't mean less work, right? And so that's the mental model that you need to start taking as a candidate, because AI isn't necessarily taking away data roles. It's actually making so many more of them. And again, we see this every single day. Now, to be clear, the role might look a little different, but the number of roles is increasing dramatically because the number of data is increasing dramatically. By the way, if you want to put everything we're talking about today into practice, I put together a free AI SQL agent project that will actually help you get interviews. If you do the project, you put it on your resume, put it on a GitHub link, GitHub portfolio, those perform way better than if you just put certificate from Coursera or whatever the case is. So we put together that project. All you have to do is click on the link below, go do it. But first, come back to the video, watch the rest of the video, and then go work on that project. It's entirely for free. So click on the link below. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the video. Point number 2, AI has 3 jobs that all create more work for data engineers. The first job, AI needs to be fed, meaning data needs to come from somewhere and it needs to feed the AI model. And with all of that, there are like dozens of steps that have to happen to make that happen, right? The data needs to be sourced, it needs to be found, it needs to be placed in some location, it needs to be transformed. And then when the data is going into the AI model, it needs to be monitored to make sure the data has high quality. So all the pre-work before the actual AI model, all of this might take a data engineer like 6 months of engineering time. And that's only to build out. That doesn't include to maintain after the feature goes live in production. The second job, AI actually has to generate data, right? So every time you use ChatGPT and you ask it a question, obviously it needs to feed the AI model, right? Meaning your question needs to be fed to the model. Then the AI model needs to know how to respond, but the response of the AI model, right, that data that is sent back to you, the user, right, all of that data actually also gets saved and stored because it becomes a way for the AI model to learn, right? So if you've ever actually gone to ChatGPT will ask you, hey, do you like this answer or do you like that answer, right? It'll give you sometimes two answers for you to tell the AI model which one you like best. Or sometimes AI or ChatGPT will say, hey, how did you like the response of this? Thumbs up or thumbs down, right? What it's trying to do is it's actually trying to get more data on the data it just sent in order to feed the model back, right? And so real-time logging of the data, aggregation of the data, right? Tracking the cost of the data. And again, this goes back to you as an engineer. You need to make sure that the AI model isn't bankrupt in your company because there are true costs to running these AI models. So that's job number 2. Job number 3 is the actual impact to the business, right? And so, for example, will AI create garbage data that actually forces a very important part of the business to get blocked? So I'll give you an example. What if FedEx or let's say Amex creates an AI model in order to block what they think are fraud transactions? But then it turns out that the AI model isn't actually detecting the correct fraud. Well, what ends up happening is Amex will lose a ton of money because the AI model isn't trained correctly. And so having a person to A, be monitoring that, B, to fix it once it realizes that the data is actually inaccurate or the model is inaccurate, and not only fix the model, but then fix the business problem. So catch it, fix the model, fix the business problem. And when I say fix the business problem, this could be an engineer going back to the software engineering team or the customer service team and say, hey, make sure these customers, get a free gift card or something and apologize for giving them a bad experience, right? So all of this post-production is also another job that is created because of this new AI feature that was launched. And so again, the big lesson here is the next time someone says, well, AI is going to replace all data engineers, just ask them the simple question: who builds the data, who keeps the model accurate, and who handles all the data that the AI models generate, right? Who handles the data that goes into the model, who handles the accuracy of the model, who handles the output of the model. All of that at some point are all different jobs, or at least a team of engineers are handling all of that process and all of that workflow, because that's how much manpower it takes to launch one really good AI feature. There's a reason that ChatGPT isn't just one dude, it's like hundreds of engineers. Point number 3, AI isn't changing the data engineering job, it's actually making it better. And what I mean by that, it's kind of deleting all the boring work that data engineers used to have to do, and it's expanding the parts that actually pay. Meaning, if you can focus more on business impact instead of debugging SQL queries, guess what happens to your salary? Your salary is probably going to go up over time because you can go to management and stakeholders and say, hey, I worked on X and I did this in a very fast, short amount of time, and that made this impact to your business. I want to raise, right? Instead of saying, hey, I spent the last 2 months debugging a SQL query, that was really hard. Well, guess what? Management doesn't care about that. Management doesn't care that you spent all this time debugging code, because at the end of the day, all they care about is, did you make an impact to the business? And so this is the fundamental change and mindset shift engineers need to start having. And even if you go to a site like Levels at FYI, you'll see this naturally. 5 years ago, mid-level engineers used to make 100, 150, maybe 200 grand per year. But today, data engineers are able to pull in 3, 4, 500 grand a year, whether or not they even know AI at this moment in time. And the reason for that is because your job and your responsibilities, when they shift from just writing code to making actual strategic decisions and leadership style decisions, your pay can increase because you're making a much bigger impact to the actual business. And so stop competing with the tasks that AI are already good at, right? Like you're not going to write code faster than AI. You're not going to debug and find something wrong in a pipeline or your code faster than AI. It's just not going to happen. But what it could mean is that you get more time back so you can invest your brain power in more strategic thinking. Hey, what are the stakeholders looking for? What are they not seeing? What's an analysis that we can do that no one is currently doing, right? And so if you're able to take that extra time that you have and spend it on high impact activities for the business, then boom, that is where you can make a shift in your salary and your compensation and your career trajectory. Point number 4, there are AI roles or new roles being created because of AI. And I want to show you a couple of the real salary numbers that we are currently seeing. This is supported by sites like levels.fyi. And so it also tracks with our experience at Data Engineer Academy. But if you want to go check out and do your own research, go to companies like levels.fyi and you can see similar results, right? Because these roles that I'm about to list out didn't really exist 3-5 years ago, but now they're exploding with demand. So ML infrastructure engineer, right? $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 roles as an ML infrastructure engineer. Very simple. They focus on feature engineering. So what is feature engineering? It's if you have an ML model and we need to take all the data to feed into this model, well, we might have to take the data that we have and create new data from that and then feed that into the model, right? So we're literally engineering, we're creating data based on other data in order to best feed the model. That's called feature engineering. Another example of this is something called a real-time data engineer, right? So somebody making 120, 140 as a junior, but we have seen that role get into the 180 to 280 range, right, per year as a real-time engineer. So what is a real-time engineer? If you know Kafka, Kinesis, Flink, these are all real-time streaming platforms that let data move back and forth in real time for specific use cases that require it. And so if you think about Uber or Lyft, they require real-time data because they need to give you real-time pricing the moment you pull up your Uber app and decide, hey, I need to get an Uber right now to go to the airport. They need to detect what is the demand and supply in real time in order to provide you the most accurate price. So that real-time data engineer position is actually very new in the market as of a few years ago. Data platform engineer. We see these guys making consistently between 200 grand and 400 grand per year. What is a data platform engineer? Basically, it is somebody that creates the platform for data and data scientists, data analysts to do their work, specifically allowing internal machine learning teams in order to build whatever model they have to build within their own company. Another job popping up is an AI data quality engineer, making around, it says 150 to 250 per year. And it will help create automated validation, meaning, hey, data that the machine learning or AI model is outputting, is that data accurate? Is it good? How do we tweak it? How do we get better responses? Because remember, the whole point of companies like ChatGPT and Claude, they want to give you really good responses so that you can keep talking to it, because when they see that you're spending more time on the platform, that's how their product becomes more valuable. And so they want to make sure they give you the best responses so that you can spend more time on the platform, basically. So AI data quality engineer, super important. Vector databases, ML ops, LLM engineer, basically all the stuff that makes ChatGPT, right? Actually figuring out the step before they show you the data, all the pre-work, all of that. Those are all positions that are opening up. You need to be able to set up that infrastructure, i.e. a data engineer, but also be able to play with all the AI stuff, all the AI tools in order to create this AI model. So that is consistently seen anywhere between 200, 300, 400, 500K per year. So here's the big lesson here. Look up and research a few of these jobs this week of the positions I just mentioned, right? Maybe find 3 job postings, see the skills that are in those job descriptions and ask yourself, okay, how many of these skills do I have? How many of these skills do I not have? Because the thing is, you can probably, as a tech professional, leverage a ton of the experience you already have because maybe half the job description is already covered. And then all you have to do is learn the other tools, which might take a couple months' time. And so that's the beauty of you being able to reverse engineer a job description. Point number 5, and this is going to be an obvious one, but start leveraging AI. Don't compete against it, right? And so basically you have to look at yourself how to multiply your output, right? Because the code that you were taking 2 hours to write before, you can potentially write in 20 minutes now, right? Which is a 6x in your output. And you can do it, pro tip by the way, by asking it via voice. So instead of you having to sit there and type something or, either with your phone or your keyboard, just speak to it. Speak to it like a real human. Ask it to spit it back to you. Ask it to ask you what the context it needs in order to write better code, right? So literally treat it like a coworker. It sounds super simple, but if you are competing against other data engineers and you are already a data engineer, then the way you become a better engineer is by leveraging AI, not shying away from it. So quick action item here, just go to Claude, go to Copilot, go to GitHub and start writing every single code using that. Speak into it, ask it to write it back for you. And then if you are confused about something, ask it to explain why this code is written there. And from there, you are now creating a perpetual loop of having AI teach you while it also does all the work. Point number 6, there are 3 skills in our opinion, based on what we've seen at Data Engineer Academy, 3 categories that will define who becomes indispensable in 2026, 2027, and beyond. And none of them are about knowing more tools. It's about having a more strategic mind. So skill number 1, ML data requirements and real-time streaming. So what this means is, are you able to create the right data that gets fed into the model, right? So features, labels, are you able to understand data leakage and why stuff like Kafka or Flink are important, right? And so when you are able to understand the application of the AI tool that your company is using, then you can say, okay, what is the right data that needs to be fed into the tool? Because this is the business impact that we're driving for. And so if you're able to think in terms of ML requirements, meaning like what is the right data that has to go into the model, then all of a sudden you become a very, very valuable thinker inside the company. Skill number 2, unstructured data cost optimization. So when we talk about unstructured data, we're talking about text, images, audio files, right? Anything that is not just, data point, right? Like letters, words, etc. Now, the thing about these is that they're not going to exist in rows and columns, right? So we have to figure out how to use vector databases in order to process unstructured data. So if we want to learn to optimize a query performance to cut cloud costs, we also need to be able to do the same with unstructured data. Hey, how do we process this in a very, very cost-effective manner? Because if you try to scale this, it might end up being 10 times the cost of you processing normal data. Skill number 3, data quality engineering and system design thinking. And so let's say AWS has 1,000 tools. We know from our experience at Data Engineer Academy that maybe only 20 or 30 actually get tested on the job interviews. And that's super important because how do you get an offer? You ace the actual interview. Now, let's say you're learning the 20, 30 AWS tools and you have a prompt from your company saying we need to build a fraud detection system. Being able to think strategically about how to put these tools together and glue them together to get the job done for the company, that becomes systems thinking or system designing or system design thinking. If you can develop that skill, yes, pro tip, you can use AI to help you with actually architecting this as well, or at least give you the blueprint, then this becomes a valuable asset because what you're going to have to do in the future isn't necessarily build it yourself, but you might have to design something so that other engineers can go build it. And so the engineers who are making 500 grand plus in 2026, 2027, 2028, they're building this skill now or they already have it. And so it's not just about you writing better and better SQL code, it's about you going that extra layer and knowing how to design systems for a team of engineers. And that team of engineers will consist of data engineers, data analysts, AI engineers, etc. But if you can design the blueprint of the building, someone else can come and build that building. So the meta lesson here is go ahead and pick a project, do anything that, go choose an API online and say, hey, I want to process real-time streaming data with something like Kafka, maybe some vector databases where the data will live, and start building a small automated data quality check system. That's the project for this week. And point number 7, your action plan starting this week is to position yourself for the AI era that is coming up, the AI era of data engineering, because here's the main piece. It doesn't actually require you to start all over. It requires 3 specific moves and you can do it all today. So move number 1, start using AI tools immediately if you haven't already and start amplifying your output by 10x, right? Whether it's ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, it doesn't really matter right now. Just use it to start writing of your code so that you can 10x your productivity. If you haven't started building out your code, then great, go choose a project, which will be step number 2. Step number 2 is build out an ML data pipeline project, right? And so for example, pick a very simple ML case, right? Anything, just look it up on ChatGPT, like give me examples of ML projects that I can do myself, and build the end-to-end data infrastructure, right? So data collection, maybe you get an API that's for free about sports, feature engineering, you change the data to look like the data that needs to fit into your ML model. And then you train the pipelines of that ML model. And then that ML model spits out something that it recommends based on the data that was inputted. And if you can build all that, then it's going to give you something to talk about during the interviews moving forward. And speaking of which, the free end-to-end AI project that we talked about, it will give you exactly a free starting point. So if you want to click on the link below, you can just use our project for free so that you can go and put it on your resume, talk about it during the interviews, put it on your GitHub, etc. And the third move, take a look at your resume and see what experience you have done over the last 10, 20 years that you can actually leverage as data experience. So if you've built ETL pipelines, call them feature engineering. I'm sure you've did some of that in the ETL pipelines that you had to build. The database optimization that you had to do, right, in order to save costs for your company. Maybe that data optimization actually improved the timing spent to train your ML models. So you can actually reframe the database optimization to help you come off as an ML engineer. The work that you put in order to monitor the data, that work can be seen as you tracking data quality for your ML model, right? Because what is important for an ML model? Well, it's the data that gets fed into it, and we have to make sure it's actually high quality. So how do we make sure of that? We have to have monitoring and alerts to tell us if something seems off. And for all the folks watching this who have zero AI experience, I will tell you the story from a guy named George. George was a student who had zero tech background, but he had program management background, and he came in here wanting to learn data engineering. He started learning data engineering. He started, learning SQL, pipeline management, feature engineering, and he eventually went on to also learn our program management, technical program management pathway and skill set, because he just found it natural given his prior experience in being a program manager. And what's funny is that within a few months, he had interviews for senior AI PM roles. So this is a guy that had zero tech background in data or AI, but had some experience with program management. And so he was able to leverage it and take advantage of this AI role. He doubled his compensation. But the most important part is that now he's in a company in a position to keep growing his compensation aggressively over time, versus before he was at a company that the salary was plateaued for about 5 years, I think. And he realized this is basically a dead end. And so this is an example of you don't have to have all the experience in the world, but whatever experience you do have, you might as well leverage it, because you never know what opportunities are around the corner. So again, action item for this week, go do an ML pipeline project, go reframe your resume in order to fit into this new data world. And if you don't have any projects at the top of your mind that you want to work on, you can use the free one that we have in the description, grab the free end-to-end AI project, and tell us how it goes. And now that you know AI is creating more opportunities for you in 2026 and not actually destroying them like you might have feared before this video, there is one skill that is actually going to help you get to 300, 400, 500K and beyond, right? And it's the exact same skill that took me from making 60K per year to making 450K per year in 5 years' time, with 7 years of total experience in the data industry. And so if that is important to you, click on the next video. It might be the most important video I put on this YouTube channel and helps you get to that next phase of your career.